Good morning, everyone. Welcome to a special edition of the MMAOB Daily Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Adam Martin, and I'll be taking you guys through the latest in the world of mixed martial arts. And today I'm joined by a special guest co-host, the co-owner of MMA DNA. You know him from Twitter and Instagram, Mr. Marcel Dorff. What's going on, Marcel? Thanks for coming on the podcast today.
Thanks for having me, man. Yeah, looking forward to doing this podcast with you. All good. Beautiful weather outside, so yeah.
So, for people that don't know you, I just want you to talk about yourself quickly. You're based out of Amsterdam, if I'm not mistaken, Netherlands. I've never really been to that part of the world, but I'd love to hear more about where you live in the world and also what you do in the industry.
So I'm actually based in Maastricht. It's 2 or 3 hours from Amsterdam. It's more in the south of the Netherlands. Yeah, it's an old city. It's a beautiful city. Many people come here, tourists. It's really close to the border of Belgium. I can be in Belgium in 2 minutes if I want. So, yeah, I've been at MMA DNA. What's it? I think we started in 2016. Before that, we had something else, or we were somewhere else, but we started something for ourselves. And from that on, we proceeded, and we've been doing okay, I think. I mean, definitely on national level, we are people know us over here, and I think on international level, it's getting better as well. So yeah, that's basically what we're doing. We also have kickboxing doing as well, but my focus is more on MMA, and some guys are more on kickboxing. So it's MMA DNA, but we're doing pretty much both.
Good stuff, man. Yeah, whenever I go to that part of the world, I definitely hit you up. I still need to go to Netherlands one day. I'd love to go, man. I think the shops will be a lot of fun for me. But as far as the business goes, what's your goal in it, Marcel? Because I think you're one of those guys that the last few years, I've really noticed you, and I've been in the business for a while now, and I think that you've got a really nice following now from you haven't been in the game that long, 5 years maybe. So I think you're doing a really great job. What's your goal in the business?
Pretty much my ultimate goal would be to can get this my work, That's the ultimate goal, obviously. I mean, but I think it's really how do you say that? It's really hard to get a job in this one, and even here in the Netherlands, man. I mean, it's not that popular at all yet. Kickboxing is more popular, and it's just hard, man. But I mean, if you like something, go for it, work hard, and see where things are going, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. Dude, I've been in business for 10 years, and it's still a grind every day. Every day is a grind. But, I really enjoy it, man, because I love the sport, right? So, how long have you been a fan for, Marcel?
I actually started watching K1 kickboxing, and that's in the 2000s, 2002, 2003. And then at a certain moment, there was, I think there was a fight on a K1 show that was Frank Shamrock against Elvis Sinisic.
Yep.
There was an MMA fight. So that's pretty much where I first really came in touch with MMA. And then I was at the store and I saw a UFC 63 BJ Penn, Matt Hughes DVD. I bought that one. And from that on, the first one I followed live, I think, was UFC 87. That was the GSP Fitch one.
Yep.
Lesnar, Herring, John Jones, Andre Guzmão. So, yeah, that was the first one.
Yeah, Minnesota. That was a good card. Actually, the Chris Taylor at BJ Penn, he told me that was the first time he met BJ, I believe. I think he said he was training in that area during that event. He was training with Sean Shirk there, and he said he met BJ there. So definitely some good memories there, because that's kind of where both you guys were born from. So that's great, man. All right, so like I said, I got you on to talk about UFC on ESPN 12. We'll talk about some news after. Fire Island, the pictures just came out, pretty cool. And obviously, I saw your tweet last night about the Paige Van Zandt odds, which, by the way, I talked about 2 weeks ago, Marcel, and I was, I told you you can swear if you want. I was going crazy too on that. So no respect there. We'll talk about that later and some other odds. But like I said, let's start with UFC on ESPN 12. Man, great card. The cards have been so good. You got to, and here's the thing, Marcel, you got to give it up to the UFC for giving these guys the opportunity. They're putting on the show. They have the production. But it's all the fighters, man. You got to give it up to the 99% of the fighters right now are fighting their asses off. The fights have been incredible to watch. Before we get into the card individually, just overall thoughts on the last few 2 months, I'd say, of UFC.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, we see very, very competitive and fun matchups, I think, man. And I know Dana doesn't want to hear it, but the smaller cage is definitely a factor of that as well. So Yeah, I mean, great cards. I think you also. I mean, there was a lot of complaining about the June 13 card with Jessica I against Calvillo, but you can't really complain right now, man. UFC putting up cards when other promotions don't. You know, we should be happy we have these fights, and there was a fun card. I mean, what is the last time we had the first 3 fights done in 2 minutes? I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, you know, like the main event was the problem with that card because honestly, it wasn't a main event worthy fight. And I like Cynthia Calvillo a lot. I picked her to win the fight. She looked great in the fight. I think she should fight for the belt, but to me, that's not a main event caliber fight. But again, I talked about that a few weeks ago. Let's get to last night or Saturday night's card, I should say. Again, great card, awesome card, man, from top to bottom. Some really nice finishes, and we'll start at the top and work our way down. Marcel, that's how we do it here, man. Main event, one of the best fights I've ever seen. I've already watched it twice. Such a good fight. Dustin Poirier defeats Dan Hooker via unanimous decision, 48-47, 48-47, 48-46. I don't know about that scorecard, but you know what? I do agree with Poirier winning the fight. Did have him winning the fight. Man, but seriously, one of the best fights I've ever seen. I'm watching it. First, when I'm watching this fight, it's like it reminding me of when I watched Dan Harrison and Shogun. Like I got that, like that buzz in my arms, feeling like, oh my god, I'm watching history right now because I felt like it was one of the best fights I've ever seen. Back and forth brawl. First couple rounds before they kind of got tired. I wouldn't say gassed by any means, but they got tired a little bit. But the first few rounds, especially that second round, was like just action packed, a slugfest. Man, these guys were just trading shots, blow and blow. Great fight, amazing fight. Just thoughts on this fight itself. I'll talk about the fight of the year discussion in a sec, but give me your thoughts on the fight, on the performances of both Dan Hooker and Dustin Poirier.
Yeah, it's an amazing fight, man. It's actually exactly what people expected when this fight was materialized, you know. I mean, Hooker did great as well. He lost to Poirier, but there was a great fight. I mean, to have a great fight, you have to have 2 great fighters in there. And they showed it. Amazing fight. Can't say anything else. I think Poirier deserved to win that one, but definitely, man, Hooker showed he did very well. I can't say anything else.
Oh, I agree. I mean, his durability is like through the roof. He's actually got 2 fight of the year candidates right now. The fight with Paul Felder was sick too. So, I mean, he's got 2 amazing fights in a row. And Poirier, okay, let's talk about both guys right now. Dustin Poirier, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame one day, 100%. And I'll tell you why. You look at his resume, Marcel, his resume is incredible. Like 2 wins over Max Holloway. Justin Geichi knocked him out. Eddie Alvarez knocked him out. Submitted Anthony Pettis. Now he beats Dan Hooker. That's a good win. Jim Miller, he's beaten. He's beating guys like, you know, Diego Ferreira and Bobby Green. So he's got some amazing wins. He does obviously have some losses like the Conor McGregor loss and Michael Johnson and stuff. But overall, Marcel, like I really think he's on track for the Hall of Fame. As far as what's next for him, I really like this fight of Tony Ferguson. It's what I thought about immediately because he's the next guy above him. I don't think Conor's going to fight Dustin Poirier again. It's not a big enough fight for him. For a fan, I would love to see that fight a second time. I think it'd be a big fight right now. First time as a featherweight. I think Poirier's shown he's got a lot more durability at lightweight, but I don't think Conor comes back for that fight. So I think you look at the rankings. I think the Ferguson fight makes a lot of sense. Give me your thoughts on that fight. Give me your thoughts on Dustin Poirier being in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Dustin Poirier being in the Hall of Fame. I mean, I agree with you, and to give some extra to it, Dustin Poirier does amazing work in charity as well, and I think the UFC really appreciates those kind of things. He even got an award, the Forrest Griffin award, so that already sets an extra thing for him that he might be in it. I think later. I agree with you. The Ferguson fight is the fight that should happen right now. I mean, Poirier lost against Khabib, great fight against Hooker. Ferguson lost against Geichi. One of those two should be fighting, and maybe the winner can fight Khabib. Although we know Dana won't Conor McGregor fight Khabib if Khabib wins, or if Justin Gaethje wins, he wants Gaethje against Conor. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I think the winner of Poirier Ferguson should be next in line. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, and I think they should do that fight. Like I said, that has fight of the year written all over it as well. Ferguson, he is coming off a loss to Geichi, but again, Marcel, one of the best fights of the year. And you know what? He did show some holes in his game in that fight compared to some other fights. But I still feel like Tony Ferguson can bounce back. I feel like he kind of got a raw deal there because he was training for like a grappling heavy fighter, gets switched to a pure striker, basically engaged. I mean, I know he is wrestling. He never uses it, though. He's basically a striker, so it's a completely different matchup. So I feel like Ferguson is still a guy that could win the belt, too. So I think that fight with Poirier makes a lot of sense. That's what I'd like to see. As far as Dan Hooker goes, man, he took a lot of damage in this fight. Both guys did. They're both going to be out for a while. Maybe Poirier fights in like December or something before the end of the year. I think he'll be out for a little while, Marcel, probably like 5 or 6 months. Hooker, I think the same, coming off 2 wars now with Felder and Poirier. As far as what's next for Dan Hooker, a lot of people are kind of looking at some of these matchups in the top 10. Guys like Charles Oliveira, potentially a rematch with Paul Felder if he wants to come back. Kevin Lee's another fight, Ally Quintus. So he's already beaten him, I guess. But yeah, I mean, any of those fights, I guess, makes sense. But I feel like maybe he could wait for the loser of Geichi and Khabib. I don't think Khabib would fight him, but maybe if Geichi loses that fight, they could do Geichi versus Dan Hooker. That'd be a fun fight too, right? So what do you think about that for Dan Hooker?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's a great fight. Although I really like the Hooker Oliveira fight for some reason, and I think Oliveira deserves a chance to fight a higher ranked opponent at this moment. It's time again for him. I mean, this last loss was against Paul Felder, I think. In the fight, he looked good until Felder turned it around and he took him out. I think Oliveira should fight Hooker, but I don't know if Hooker really wants that fight, or rather waits, like you said, for the loser of Khabib against Geichi, which would make sense as well. So
or even Ferguson too. You could fight him, So like you could do Poirier against Ferguson, or you could do Hooker against Ferguson. Both work for me. But yeah, I mean, Oliveira, you mentioned, obviously he didn't fight this weekend, but he had a good performance against Kevin Lee. Great performance. Yeah. I was looking at UFC record book today. I mean, he's number 1 in submissions, 14. I think he's probably with Anderson right now for most stoppages. I think 16, if I'm mistaken. So he's a guy that could be, at the end of his career, the most submissions, the most finishes in UFC history. Another guy that, I mean, it's crazy to think about, but you could see Charles Oliveira in the Hall of Fame 10 years from now if he keeps winning all these fights. It's crazy, right? Let's get some comments here. Daniel Edwards, what's going on, man? The lightweight division is a matchmaker's dream. It's a fan's dream. I know Marcel's been enjoying the fights. It's a wet dream for me, man. I mean, these fights have been sick. Like, are you kidding me? Every weekend, Marcel, we're getting an amazing fight, especially in this division. This division is – I've always thought that 170 and 155 were the best divisions. I think 155 is the best division. 145 is great, 135 too, but I think 155 has always been one of the best ones. Here's another comment from Marcus Williams. Marcus, what's up, man? Every UFC event from Jacksonville to Hooker versus Poirier has been good. I'd like to see Poirier Ferguson, but I don't think Ferguson will wait for Poirier to get healed up. Yeah, he might want to fight again soon because obviously he has a lot of unfinished business after getting knocked out by Geichi. But I mean, even if Ferguson has to wait a few months, I think that's okay too. All right, let's get to So I want to talk about fight of the year first. Is it your number 1, or you still have Weili Zhang and Joanna Jędrzejczyk number 1?
I think Zhang against Jędrzejczyk is still number 1 because that was such a crazy fight, man. This was a crazy fight as well, but I feel like there was more on the line in that fight. It was for a title, 5 rounds, banging, keep going. I felt like you said they weren't gassed, Poirier and Hooker, but it slowed down at the 4th and 5th round, which didn't happen at Zhang against Joanna. And I was pretty surprised that many people were like, Hooker against Poirier is now fight of the year so far. I think it's still Joanna against Weili, and I think Hooker Poirier is number 2 on my list at this moment.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and watch Joanna and Zhang. At this point, I mean, I think it's probably still number 1 in my mind because I remember watching it and I was like blown away. I mean, this fight, it's the best women's fight ever. I think, I know Cyborg and Nunes was like 1 minute, but that must have been the best minute ever. But yeah, I think the best fight, probably like women's fight ever, but I still feel like it's one of the best fights in general. I'll have to go back and rewatch that fight at some point, like to make my official pick. But I feel like it's hard to say because I think Poirier and Hooker, someone made this point on my Twitter. They said it's mixed martial arts. It was a better mixed martial arts fight because you did go to the ground. You did have the submission attempts from Poirier on that really tight guillotine at one point. So, I mean, I could see that argument too, but I think that, like you said, with the title on the line, those 2 women just basically beating the shit out of each other for 25 minutes. I mean, we haven't seen anything like that before. So, both fights I think are amazing. And, Marcel, I tweeted like after the fight, I said, Dana White can buy so much goodwill right now by saying, this was the best fight, one of the best fights of the year. I'm giving these guys extra 100,000 each. Like, why not? Why not do that? Everyone would be happy. The fighters, the fans, the media. Like, it's so easy, Marcel. Don't you think?
Yeah, man. I mean, even if you do that, then maybe other guys next time think like, "Oh my God, if we're doing this as well, we maybe also get 100K extra," you know?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Literally all could change for Dana. It's not even a lot of money for Dana White in the UFC. He wasn't even there for this fight, man, which is kind of unfortunate. He was in Abu Dhabi. We'll talk about that later, the pictures he posted. But it's disappointing he wasn't there because I don't think he got to see it like the way probably everyone else did. So, I mean, maybe he did watch it like from his hotel, I guess, there. But, he obviously is one of those guys that wants to be in the arena for the fight. Anyways, let's get through the rest of this card here. Like I said, great card. Next up, we had Mike Perry defeat Mickey Gall. I mean, it was a pretty good performance by Mike Perry, I think. He showed a different element to his game because he took the fight to the ground a few times. He had Mickey Gall in some bad spots with the rear naked choke. Wasn't able to get the finish, but still, like, pretty good performance. I still think this guy needs a real training camp. Like, the warm-up with the pad holding with his girlfriend, like, that was pretty embarrassing to watch. I was like, really? It's funny, right? Like, he's a funny guy. Like, he's got a good personality, but this is, like, the highest level of MMA, and when you have, like, there's no actual cornerman, just your girlfriend saying, good job. That's all she said in the corner, Marcel. No technical advice, nothing like that. Like, I mean, this guy is a good fighter. I think he could take us to the next level. He needs to find the right gym. Give me your thoughts on Mike Perry.
yeah, he did look pretty well, I think, in the cage. Three rounds. I think he won all three. Yeah. It was a good performance, man. I mean, many people were like, he will probably have the advantage in the standing, and Mickey will have the advantage on the ground. But he was better on the ground and standing both. I think Gall didn't do bad in the standing. I think Gall definitely approved in a stand-up fight, but Perry was the better fighter overall. And he said he wants to train now with Joel Romero. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, why not? But he wants Darren Till next. Not going to happen, obviously. But I hope they match him up with Nico Price. That's the fight I want to see. That's the fight I wanted to see before this fight already. And that's a banger, man. I mean, don't you think?
Yeah, I think that's a good fight. Nico Price, that fight's the one I was thinking about. What do you think about that one? Yeah. Yeah. What?
Yeah, amazing fight, man. I mean, Nico Price always comes for the kill. Mike Perry comes always for the kill. So that can be boring, man. I think. And Nico is also. I think Nico is underrated on the ground. Mike showed his ground game against Gall, which is a Gracie black belt, I think. Mickey Gall. So, I mean, fun fight overall, man. That has fight of the night all over it. So, yeah, I'm definitely for it.
Yeah, and like I said, Mike Perry, I think, looked like just more improved everywhere. I agree with you, 30-27. I don't know how everyone gave him the first round Gall. I thought Perry won that round too. For Mickey Gall, I mean, this drops his record to, I think it's 5-3 now in the UFC. It's not, I mean, listen, this guy's been learning on the job, man. He had one fight outside the UFC, Marcel, before he was signed. So he's been a guy that's been like basically, a UFC fighter from the start. They found him on Dana White's looking for a fight. And he's got some decent wins in his career. I mean, like, say, Northcutt, it's not a bad win. George Sullivan, these are okay wins. But the guy, I don't know if he's like really like a high-level fighter, So I think Mickey Gall's got like a lot of work to do. But I think he'll stick around in the UFC for a while. They seem to like him. All right, let's get to the next fight here. Oh, man, this was crazy. Maurice Greene against Gian Villante. So I actually picked Gian Villante, Marcel. And then I saw him at the weigh-ins, and I was like, holy crap, looks like he's been eating Burger King every night for dinner. Oh, my God, man. And I stuck with my pick. And you know what, Marcel? I know the scorecards had Greene actually up going into that third round. I thought it was tied, and I thought he was going to Gian Villante was on pace for a 10-8 round in the third round because he had dropped Maurice Greene, was ground and pounding him. But eventually, Marcel, the guts wore on him. He got really tired and got submitted with an arm triangle from the bottom by Maurice Greene, which is just insane to me. Like, you don't see that submission very often, especially from a heavyweight. Also, I got to say, for the commentators not to know that submission, I mean, what are they paying them for? And I heard Josh Thompson on his podcast was saying the same thing, and he was like, and John McCarthy was saying, like, they knew what it was. Like, I did too. I mean, I'm watching it, and I'm like, Dominic Cruz is saying he's never seen this submission before. What's he talking about, man? We actually have seen arm triangles from the bottom before in the UFC. It's rare. Anyways, Marcel, like these, I think they do a good job overall, but Cruz is a guy that I don't think is the best commentator personally. And for me, you got to know that submission if you're going to be a professional commentator for the UFC, especially you're a champion fighter. Anyways, as far as the sub goes, it was crazy. So give me your thoughts on this fight, because I thought Villante was on pace to win the fight before the submission.
Yeah, I think that's right, man. I think I scored Greene the first 2 rounds, 10-9, and then Villante, if he kept going through, he would have had the 10-8 and would have been a draw, or maybe he could have finished him, but he was so exhausted. He rested on Greene, and Greene got the arm triangle, man. It was crazy. I agree with you, man. The commentator should have known that, but yeah, I don't know, man. I think even Greene was like, hey, that I can do that pretty easy from this position, man. What the hell? And then he took it. So yeah, good for Greene. He was on a 2-fight losing skid, now winning. So, but Villante, man, I mean, what's going to happen with him now? Because I don't know. What do you think?
With who?
Villante, with Gian Villante.
Yeah, I think. I mean, honestly, he probably gets another fight in the UFC at this point. Yeah. I don't think it was that bad of a fight. I thought he looked okay in the fight. He wasn't in shape though, Marcel. He was like me or you fighting in the cage. Honestly, like it didn't look like it looked like more of a fan or a journalist fighting rather than a professional athlete. You know what I mean? Like this, I know he weighed the same as Greene, but you could tell the difference in physique. Greene was just stronger, and Greene had better cardio. For Villante, I would like to see him fight again in the UFC. I think he is like barely a UFC caliber fighter, but I think he is UFC caliber, Marcel. He does have some good wins in his career. I mean, it's not like this guy's a total scrub. You know, he beat Corey Anderson, knocked him out. He's got some other wins like Ed Herman and Sean O'Connell, who won $1 million. So he has some okay wins, but he's kind of, you know, he's trying to turn into a punching bag. I think maybe some of the last few fights. It's unfortunate because he trains with Weidman, obviously, but it feels like both those guys, man, have just taken too much damage or something. So I'd like to see him stick around, Marcel, but I think PFL, if he ever signed there, I think he'd, you know, be a candidate to win that $1 million potentially, and also Bellator would be a good home for him too because he'd fight lesser guys. What do you think?
I agree, man, but I'm also like, give him another fight, get Cyril Asker and get Georges Daniel in that cage with him. You know, I mean, those guys who only fight once in 2 years, and let's see what he does. And if he loses to them, yeah, then it's probably over. But yeah, I mean, the PFL, the heavyweight division, he can do pretty well there, I think. So that would be a good fit for him. The Bellator, I don't know, man. Because then you have to go to Ryan Bader, and I don't really see him beating Ryan Bader. To be
Ryan Bader at any point. I think there are some fights like Matt Mitrione versus Gian Villante, two former football players. That'd be a fun fight, you know, something like that. But I think PFL makes a lot of sense because you think about it. Philipe Lins, who's not very good, he won $1 million and he looked amazing, right? So we'll talk about him in a minute. But yeah, I think Villante could go there. But also, like I said, I think he should get another fight in the UFC. You know, for Greene, quickly for him. I don't think it was his best performance. I think he's had better performances, but he did get the win. And it changes his life, according to him. He said he really needed this win. He's going to move his family now. He couldn't even do the interview, man, with John Anik because he was crying so much. And you know what? You got to love to see that. But at the same time, Marcel, man, it's every card. There's a guy saying like he's broke as fuck and doesn't make money. It's sad to watch, honestly.
Yeah, I agree, man.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like, they got to pay the fighters more, honestly. It's ridiculous. Like, imagine you're watching baseball and, like, guy hits a home run and starts crying, says he needs the money. You know, it's so bad. It's terrible. Seriously, they really I feel like we're on the verge of reform in fighter pay, but then again, I feel like we're not at the same time. It feels like there's momentum, but I don't know. Let's get some comments here. John, hey, what's going on, man? Dana White is on Fight Island drinking Mai Tais. Not a worry in the world. Yeah, no, he's having a good time there. He says Perry versus Michelle. Who is Michelle? Is it Michelle Pereira? Like, who is that?
Pereira, I think.
Michelle Pereira. Oh, shoot. Yeah. I'd watch that fight. That sounds that's a good fight. Even honestly, like, he hasn't fought Diego yet, right? Like, that they could do that fight, Perry Diego Sanchez. Like,
yeah.
If they fight yet, that'd be I'd watch that.
The corner would be fun.
I mean, anything. Perry's a fun guy to watch, man. I gotta be honest. Like, I don't love his shtick all the time. The thing with the girlfriend's stupid, but he's like not bad to watch. It's fun. Daniel Edwards, what's going on, man? To be fair, Dana's generous with the bonuses. Maybe they're underpaid, but still wouldn't be surprised there's $50K each to both. You know, listen, the fact they give bonuses is good, but honestly, if you look back, Marcel, there's events like from 10 years ago where they were actually giving 100,000. They never do that anymore. Like UFC 100, even like UFC, like a bunch of those cards actually. Sometimes they give out 60,000 or 100. The GSP Koscheck fight got 100,000, and it wasn't even a good fight. And
Brian Appleseau.
Sorry, go ahead.
Brian Appleseau, get that shots of the TV. That was also a really big bonus check. I don't know, was that 80,000 or something? I
don't know. I can't think about it, but yeah, I mean, I feel like the bonuses should go up now. You know, it's 2020. It should be 100K. And I also feel like so many fighters are getting screwed because the fights have been so good, especially in that small cage. There's so many good performances not getting rewarded right now. I've always said this. I've said this for like 5 or 6 years probably. They should just give an extra bonus for finishing. And some people are like, "Oh, that's encouraging violence." Like, what the hell are you watching? Is that a role? I hate when people say that. It's so stupid.
Who say that?
say that they're like, oh, you don't want to encourage them to like have more violence and stuff. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I feel like if you just gave an extra, like, if you finish your fight, you get an extra 10K. That'd be nice for players, right? Why not? That's nothing. That's nothing for the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
Some comments here. Eduardo Flores. Okay, we'll talk about that later, Eduardo. That question with Dana White's contender series. That's a good question to ask. All right, let's get to the next fight here. Brendan Allen, Kyle Daukaus. I mean, this fight was sick, and this fight was on pace to be fighting the night before the main event. Great fight. Love this fight, Marcel, because it was a true mixed martial arts fight, standing and on the ground. My God, Kyle Daukaus, man, that knee he took, I think it was the first round, Marcel. I don't know how he survived that. The guy's super durable. He really did, to me, look like a contender in this division in his first fight in the UFC. Even though he lost, I was really impressed by this guy. Great durability, great ground game. But Brendan Allen's the guy to watch out for, man. I mean, this guy, Marcel, he keeps winning fights. He could be a contender before the end of this year or next year. I saw that he has some, I think, broken orbital bone, so he'll be out for a while. His manager said he might return at 205, which I found kind of bizarre. I feel like he should stay at 185. Maybe the weight cut's tough for him. I don't know. He did gas kind of in that third round, so maybe it's a tough weight cut. Maybe 205 is a better spot. But either way, I mean, Brendan Allen and Kyle Daukaus, both, I think they're both really good young fighters, man.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, when this fight was materialized, I think Daukaus was a short notice replacement. I hated and loved the fight at the same time, you know, because Daukaus, I mean, he pretty much deserved to get in the UFC from the Dana White Contender Series, in my opinion. And now he had to go against Brandon Allen. Yeah, great fight, I think, man. I mean, Allen did very well in the first two rounds. Third round was Daukaus, I think. 30-27, that judge.
I had it 29-20. I don't even think it should have been 29-27 either. 29-28, I think Allen won the first two rounds. But like I said, I'm high on this guy. I still feel like that Ian Heinisch fight, man. Like there's some bad blood there between those two guys.
Yeah.
So if he stays at 185, that's the fight. Like I said, I found it bizarre. His manager said, 205. And I was talking to Cole, who does the show with me on the breakdown show here. And he was like, oh, this makes sense. And I was like, Cole, how does it make sense, though? Because he said, young guys take short notice fights all the time to make extra money. I said, yeah, but this guy's not like a veteran who's desperate for money. He's an up-and-coming guy as a contender, I think. So I guess there is an argument to be made that he could just take a short notice fight. But I think 185, if he can make the weight, Marcel, he could be a dangerous guy in this weight class. Like, you look at a guy like Brad Tavares. I think if Brandon Allen fights Brad Tavares, who I believe is ranked number 12 for some reason, I don't know why. He hasn't fought in forever. I think that Brandon Allen wins that fight and probably finishes Brad Tavares. So, to me, he's a top 15 guy, even though he doesn't have a ranking next to him right now. Let's get some comments here. Eduardo says, great show, guys. Much appreciated. No problem, man. We love doing it. And Marcel makes the show better. Daniel Edwards, UFC underpay across the board. So is boxing if you observe the undercards. Business is harsh. Fighters need to unionize. It's like fans and journalists care more about it. It's true. It is. That part's true. I think the fighters, they're just scared, man. If they speak out, like there's guys like Curtis Blaydes. We'll talk about him later. He doesn't care. He's like, I don't care. I'm going to speak out. But there's a lot of people that are kind of afraid to speak out. I think you need the fans in the media to speak up about it, but it feels like nothing's changing. At the same time, though, we're journalists, right? We're underpaid too. No one's like out there banging on the door saying, pay these guys more. I'd love for someone to say that about me, but I wouldn't have a job if it wasn't for the fighters. That's why I'm always pro-fighter, Marcel. Like, I'm always pro-fighter. It's never about the promotion for me. UFC is great promotion, but it's not about them, man. It's just three letters, really. It's the fighters, right?
Yeah, I said the same, man. I mean, I see sometimes people going crazy and defending the UFC, and I was like, people are always like, why are you so pro-fighter and not defending the UFC? Listen, man, I'm not on the payroll of the UFC, so I don't have to defend them. And I'm just saying what I think is right. So that's pretty much it. And I think the fighters deserve more money.
I agree 100%. Fresh Breath of MMA. I like that name for the podcast, man. Great stuff. Keep it up. Come check us out. Very cool logo. Good name for the show, and I appreciate the compliment, man. We missed this from Kenshiro. What's going on? I want Mario Yamasaki back. More brutal, the better. Dana White said he's never coming back to the UFC. There's a lot of guys that have been like blackballed. Steve Mazzagatti, Kim Winslow. They've never refed again in a long time. So, yeah.
Mazzagatti became a timekeeper sometime, right?
Is that true? Is he? That's correct. He's doing boxing now, right? Is that correct? I think he's doing.
I don't know, but last time I saw him in the UFC with that black and white striped.
That's probably better for you. I gotta be honest, man. Reffing in MMA is a thankless job. Fans, media always rip you. The fighters rip you. It is one of the hardest jobs in pro sports. Like it's just like a margin of error is like it's so thin in reffing from a knockout, early stoppage to a late stoppage. Very tough job, thankless job. Marcus asked about who should Mike Perry fight next. We gave some options already. Nico Price and John said Michelle Pahea. I said Diego Sanchez. Marcel said, I think you said the loser of Luque and Brown, right? Is that the fight you said?
No, Nico Price, man.
Oh, you said Nico Price too. Sorry, man. I think, but like the fight I just said, all three of those, I feel like they're on the same spot. I think that's why my head's going there. The loser of Brown and Luque, I think, makes sense too. That's a great fight too. So, or even the winner of that fight, why not, right? Although Luque should probably get a bigger guy. But I feel like all those guys are kind of lumped in the same spot, Marcel. They're all in like that 15 to 20 range. All action fighters. Don't know if they win the belt. Robert DePelli, I know he says Bilal Muhammad, Lyman good, Takashi Sato. All those fights are good too. And sure, I'm not pro fighter because those crybabies, I want to see them get KO'd. I mean, listen, dude, we are watching for entertainment, but like, if without the fighters, we wouldn't have anything to watch. All right, next fight. Yeah, Sato, who just mentioned, knocks out Jason Witt. Not much to say about this one. I mean, 48 seconds, but Jason Witt took it on like 24 hours notice, and the fight was like kind of iffy until like the last minute. So, you know, he'll get another fight in the UFC. He got his 10K show money. He's in the UFC now, but I think this was a pretty good performance by Sato, but I expected. And then opening up the main card, catchweight fight, huge upset here. Julian Erosa, he was a plus 400 underdog, Marcel. No one was picking him to win this fight. I wasn't picking him. I thought Sean Woodson would kind of win the decision, which I think he was on pace for. And then at the end gets submitted. I mean, it was an amazing submission. Erosa wins a bonus here. Amazing performance. This guy needed it, man, because he had been 1-4 in the UFC. So he really needed this win. Give me your thoughts on Julian Erosa pulling off the upset.
Yeah, surprising to me as well, man. I thought Woodson would pretty much outbox him, which I think he did in the first 2 rounds. But Erosa came back, man, very good. His last win in the UFC was against was his debut against Marcin Borosek, and there was a split decision, I think. So, yeah, it was his 3rd stint in the UFC, and the best start so far in in the UFC for him. Let's say the comeback. So. Yeah, what can we say? Woodson, first loss. I think pretty bitter for him, but he will be back.
He's just kind of a weird guy, man. Honestly, his shape is so awkward. Like, he has no muscle in his midsection. I think once Erosa started going to the body, that changed the fight. Once Erosa started pressuring, moving forward, throwing hooks to the body, Woodson started like kind of weltering. So I think that this guy, I don't know what he's going to do, but maybe move up to 155 permanently, put on some muscle, or he just choose to be a huge, tall featherweight. But I don't know, man. Like, honestly, even if you look at the Contender Series fight against Terrence McKinney, I'm pretty sure he was losing that fight up until he got that flying knee knockout. So I remember watching that fight thinking, like, I don't know if this guy's UFC caliber. He had a great performance against Bokniak. He's a tough dude. That's why I thought he'd win this fight. But to me, this is a guy that, I don't know, Marcel, but it's like, it reminds me of like George Roop or Corey Hill, like these tall, skinny guys that they don't have the greatest durability. So I don't know what this guy's going to do. Ken Shiro says it's proof if you're tall and lanky, you're going to get your neck choked out. That's the other thing. He's got that huge neck. Daniel Edwards, Erosa's an inspiration. Never thought I'd see him back, let alone win. And he did it on like 3 days' notice. So, I mean, it was pretty impressive. Ken Shiro says they ain't fighting for us. They ain't fighting. They are useless to us fans. Less crying with money. Just go KO someone like Oscar, make yourself a draw. I mean, like, listen, I understand. You're kind of a different guy than us, Kenshiro, I think. It's not a bad thing. It's always good to have different opinions. But Kenshiro's more about, he's one of these guys that just wants blood, which is fine. He's a Just Bleed fan, right? That's fine. But I feel like these fighters deserve a lot more money. Anyways, we'll talk about that another time. Oh, he's talking about Luis Pena. Actually, I think that's the next fight. So, yeah, Luis Pena gets submitted in the 3rd round. Another big upset. Holy smokes. I thought Conor Worthy had a chance to win this fight for sure. I thought it was closer than the betting odds suggested. But Pena, I thought, was probably on pace to win the fight before the submission. So that was a great submission for Conor Worthy. He's pretty underrated too, Marcel. Now he's got 2 wins in the UFC, Devontae Smith and Luis Pena. I think this guy's ready for a step up. I think he's on a 7-fight win streak right now. Give me your thoughts on this fight.
Yeah, I picked Worthy via knockout, actually, man. So I was surprised he won via submission. Was 1-1 going into the 3rd. I think Worthy did very well in the 1st round. 2nd round was clearly for Pena with the control on the ground. But Pena, excuse me, Pena never does a lot with his control on the ground, in my opinion. Worthy did very well. I don't want to be shitting on somebody, but I think Pena gets a little bit too much hype from the UFC, in my opinion. He's a very fun fighter to watch, definitely. But and he's the character, violent butt Ross, the hair and stuff. But man, I mean, I don't know, man. I'd like to see him. Maybe get a little bit of an easier matchup next, because I think if they don't do that, he might lose again, and the hype is completely gone pretty much. And Conor Worthy, like you said, I actually like they maybe rebooking the Michael Johnson fight, man.
Okay, yeah, that's a fun. I was thinking about that fight too. That would have been a good fight. two guys that are going to stand and strike probably. As far as Pena goes, he's only 26, man, so he's still very young. He has experience now, 4-3 record. For me, I look back at that Matt Wyman fight last year, and the way he beat the hell out of Matt Wyman, that was really impressive to me. So I think this guy's not bad, but he obviously has holes in his game. So to me, he's a UFC caliber guy, but he's not like an elite guy. And Worthy, I think he should, he's on the track, I think, at this point, if he gets 1 or 2 more wins to fight a top 15 guy. But of course, he's got to get a win here in his next fight. And like you said, Michael Johnson, that's a veteran name. Do that fight. They had that fight booked for 249 before the fight was canceled. Ken Sure says he's a beast. I know this. I do. Robert says, Pena, interesting personality, but overrated fighter. I think some people would agree with you on that. Ken Sure says he had karma Worthy in his parlay. Robert says Worthy looking good. Someone with a little buzz for him next. Yeah, like Marcel said, that was a good fight. Next fight on the card, Tanner Boser defeats Philipe Lins, first round knockout. I thought he deserves a $50,000 bonus. I personally would have given it to him. I thought it was a really nice knockout. Super accurate punches, man. It's like he landed every punch in that combo. So Philipe Lins now 0-2 in the UFC in like 2 months. Former PFL champ. I don't know if he gets another fight because he didn't look very good in this fight. For Boser, great win. Give me your thoughts on this fight, and do you think Boser should have won that $50K?
Yeah, definitely Boser should have won that $50K, I think, man. I mean, that back fist, that falling back fist, that was crazy, man. I mean, very, very good win for him, man. I think Lins, I don't know, man. I think Lins is managed by Ali, so I think we will see Lins back definitely for a third time. I mean, I wonder against who, honestly, man. I don't know who they're gonna give him. Maybe Gian Villante.
Okay. Why not do that fight? I'd watch the loser goes to Bellator, back to Bellator. I'd watch that fight. I mean, that makes sense. Or the loser go back to PFL. Makes sense. It's like that's like the lowest guy in the division. You have to not everyone could be an elite guy, man. You still have to have guys that are gatekeepers and journeymen. So that fight makes sense. And I'm looking at the division right now. Marcel, guys like Ben Sassoli, guys like that. I think they could beat him too. So we'll see what happens there. All right, next fight. There's 2 fights left here. Kay Hansen, wow, nice submission there over Jin Frey. You know what, man? I got to be honest. Okay, so I had heard good things about her, but the fact she's 20 years old and the fact that her record was 6-3 made me kind of like not know if she was actually going to look as good as people were saying in her debut. First round, I thought Frey won the first round. Second round, Hansen started changing her game plan, went for the takedown. It was smart. Third round, I thought Frey was winning the round up until she made a mistake and Hansen took her arm and tapped her out the armbar. So you got to get up to Kay Hansen. She won $50K bonus. I don't know about that. I don't think I would have given it to her. It was a good performance, and it's going to help that girl because she's so young. It's going to help her really, start her career. But to me, I would have given it to Boser personally. I think Boser even saying he wanted it almost like hurt him. Like it feels like when the guys call for it, they don't get it. Marcel, it's like UFC's like screw you, don't beg for money kind of. But yeah, Hansen gets it, and then she took that picture with the dude that bet $37,000 on her to win $20,000. I don't know why that guy made that bet. It's a crazy bet. Actually, Ken Shore says that. Yeah, I saw the picture. I posted it on BJ. I mean, good for that dude, but why would you bet that much money on this kind of a fight? It's really weird. Kenshiro, UFC should give out more 20K bonus. Yeah, 100%, 10 or 20K. But yeah, I think Hansen's got a bright future, man. What do you think about her?
Yeah, she has, man. But I mean, Jinju Frey, she's an atomweight, or and she now fought at there was a strawweight fight, right? So, I mean, she didn't make weight in the last fight in Invicta and got stripped from the belt, but she's a former Invicta champion, a defending champion actually. So this is a big win for Kay Hansen, man. I didn't expect it, to be honest. She finished it. I don't know about what we're going to see now from Kay Hansen, man. She's now 7-3, I think. Let's see who they match her up with in the next fight. I mean, it's hard to say because I think Jinju Frey did very well in the first round. She picked her punches perfectly. Second round went, like you said, to Kay Hansen, and the third round, I had Hansen leading in the third round. You had Frey. I think that was a kind of 50-50 thing.
It didn't finish anyways, right? But I think she was slightly ahead. I think it would have been probably close on the cards. But I mean, she won the fight. So I'm looking at the division right now, Marcel. Yeah, you're right. I mean, right now I wouldn't say at the bottom of the division, but kind of is because, first off, there's not that many fighters in it. There's like maybe 30 fighters. It's not that big. Looking at the kind of bottom of the division, it's tough. It's like you could give her someone like I'm looking at these people like Luke Boonmi or like Jandaroba, maybe something like that. But Jandaroba is pretty good too. And maybe that's too much of a step up. Brianna Van Buren didn't look very good. I think she could probably beat her. Don't know if you want to match up two prospects, but yeah, it's hard to say. They might sign someone to fight her too. They might just go to Invicta and sign someone else. So thoughts? Anyone you think of? No.
I mean, for example, Frey, I would like to see her Luke Boonme, because Luke Boonme is also.
Oh, yeah, I'd like to see that. Yeah, Frey, if she's too small, if they made 105, I don't think they will, Marcel. I don't think they'll go.
No,
they don't. No finishes, really. I don't think fans would like it that much. Kenshiro says Kay Hansen better learn low kicks. Yeah, she's got a lot to work in her stand-up, but her ground game is lethal. Saw Ronda Rousey congratulate her. That's pretty cool for a young fighter. What are you going to say?
Yeah, we can do maybe Hansen against Ariane Carnelosi?
She lost to Angela Hill, right?
Yeah.
TKO doctor stoppage, I think. Yeah, you could do that fight. Like I said, I'm just looking at the division right now. Anyone at the bottom of it, really. Yeah, I think any of those fights make sense. Alexander Albu, something like that, possibly. I don't know what happened to her. She was kind of a good prospect for a while.
She said that weird thing that the UFC has her listed like 6-1, and everywhere else she is like 3-1 or 3-2. So I don't know.
I remember her being like super strong, but she doesn't fight. All right. Anyways, let's get to the last fight here, and we'll get to some news and questions. Yusuf Zalal defeats Jordan Griffin 29-20 across the board. I like Zalal, man. He's pretty good. Good prospect. He's 2-0 now in the UFC in the last couple of months. So this is a guy that I think's got a lot of potential. So it's the win here. I thought the scorecards were correct. What do you think about his performance?
He was fighting well stand-up, but he wasn't fighting a smart fight, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because when Jordan Griffin went for the ground, for takedown, he could have stand up, but he kept being on the ground, and then Griffin reversed it or something. And I was like, dude, you're way better on the stand-up. Keep that fight standing. And that's where it cost him 1 round at least. And it could have cost him a 2nd round, actually, which didn't, because the striking was on point and the judges scored that over the ground control and the ground game. But he wasn't fighting a smart fight. He's still young, so maybe you can't blame him for that. But good win for him, man. Jordan Griffin is a solid fighter from Rufus Sports. He's from Factory X as well. So, yeah, it was a fun fight to open the card, I think, and a good win for Zalal.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. All right, let's get to some news now. Fight Island. So it's starting in 2 weeks. Can't wait, man. It's going to be fun. Dana White posted some photos. Now, I think people are under the assumption that's where the fight's going to take place, outside. But I don't think that's the case, Marcel. I think that's for like promotional, like where they do the fighter workouts. So Dana White's posting and people are like, oh, they're going to fight in the sun, like in the hot sun. I don't think that's what's going to take place. I believe they built an indoor thing that they're going to do the fight in. That's just for taking photos and stuff. Is that correct?
That's what I think as well. I'm not 100% sure, by the way, but what makes sense? It's in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. It's bizarre. But anyways, I'm looking forward to it, man. Next month is going to be awesome. These cards, Marcel, coming up. I don't want to get too much into the fights, but you look at some of these fights like Usman Burns. This is 2 weeks from now, and I'll do the preview show then. It's going to be sweet. Usman Burns, Volkanovski, Holloway, Yan, Aldo. You got Andrade, Namajunas, Van Zandt, Ribas, and your boy Yuri Prochazka against Volkan Oezdemir. So that fight's going to be sick too. Great card. Looking forward to that. I mean, the whole month of fights is great. Calvin Kattar, Dan Ige, Munoz, Edgar, Figueiredo, Benavidez 2, Gastelum, Hermanson, some big fights. Whitaker, Till, Shogun, Log 3. Verdun versus Gustafsson, the heavyweight version of him. Maybe he'll look like Gian Villante. That fight, dude, Gustafsson versus Villante in heavyweight. Yeah, it should be a good month of fights. I'm looking forward to it. But like I said, I'll be breaking down those cards in a couple of weeks. Next up on my list, I had Israel Adesanya and Paulo Costa. Now, this has been rumored for a while, so it's not like it's come as a surprise, but Joe Rogan said it on his podcast now, saying that that's who the coaches are going to be. I mean, this makes a lot of sense. That's why they haven't been booked yet, I guess. People are wondering where these guys are. They're going to coach Tough. Now, Tough was a great show, obviously, and I think it really went downhill. But who knows? And maybe they've really come up with some nice ideas for the show. It's possible, right, with ESPN now. So I'm kind of excited for its return, Marcel. I don't know who the prospects are going to be. I think right now, most of the top guys either get signed to the UFC or they fight on the Contender Series. So I don't know, like, are they going to do a veteran show? Or are they going to do a new prospect or a new division? I don't really know. But I am kind of looking forward to it, man. And I think that this is going to be like a fun show to watch. I think Adesanya and Costa, they don't like each other, obviously. This is such a great fight, Marcel, when it happens. They're two undefeated guys. You don't really see that often fighting for the belt. So what do you think about them coaching Tough?
I think it will be a very weird thing, them to coaching Tough, because Costa doesn't he talks trash sometimes, but he's not very, how do you say that, very good with the words in English, and we know Adesanya is, so it's going to be pretty weird, I think. And people keep asking me, is this fight going to happen in August? No, because if they're going to coach the Ultimate Fighter, you probably see it not before October or November, maybe later. So,
like, I think before the end of the year they'll do the fight.
Yeah.
Adesanya's been fighting a lot the last few years, so I think it's okay for him to take a small break here. Costa, though, hasn't fought in a year, I think, right? Since the Yoel fight, if I'm not mistaken. So
yeah.
Last August, so it's been a while. But either way, I think that's a great fight. Let me get some questions from earlier. Where was this one? Eduardo asked this question. Is there a heavyweight to keep your eye on for the possible Contender Series appearance? Marcel, you're more of the Contender Series guru than I am. Is there anyone that you have your eye on in the heavyweight division?
Actually, nobody can think of the top of my mind man right now.
A lot of these guys, there's some guys like that fought last year on the show. They're bringing back, which is good. Noah King's the guy to ask for that. Contender Series is great. Don't get me wrong. I love it, but with so many other fights in the UFC, it's so hard to keep track of Contender Series as well. When the fights come up, I'll break the fights down that week, and I'll talk to you guys more about that. He says, what are your thoughts on Aries FC heavyweight Umar Rugrug Kane? Rugrug, I think. I know you know a lot about this guy. I've heard some good things from our guy Al Zulino at BJPen.com. He said some good things about him. I don't have too much knowledge of this guy, but give me your thoughts on this dude.
I know he's from Senegal. He had that crazy debut at Aris where he suplexed that dude that fought in Cage Warriors. I think Sofian Bukishu.
Okay.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive, man. But it's based on very strong man, heavy power at this moment. He's still just in this game, so it's hard to say. But yeah, he's a prospect. If you can do that to Bukishu, who has pretty more fights than him to his name, and did pretty well as far as I know. Yeah, we'll see what's going to happen, man. They have now signed Juan Adams to Aries as well. Another heavyweight where I don't find a name at this moment right now. But yeah, let's see what's going to happen, man. I mean, definitely not ready, I think, for the UFC or anything right now or whatever. But let him fight in Aries. Let's see what's happening. And yeah, looking forward to it, man.
Yeah, it should be fun. Eduardo Flores, thoughts on Amir Ali Kabari signing with Ali Abdelaziz? Ali mentioned Kevin Ali, they were working on details with USADA so he can compete in UFC. So this guy is a high-level wrestler. He fought in Ryzen. He went to the finals of the tournament. He got knocked out by Mirko Krokop. He had fought like 3 times in 2 days. So he beat Heath Herring. He also has a win over Daniel Omalanchuk. Right now, and Geronimo Dos Santos, he's on a 5-fight win streak. I've heard good things about this guy, especially with the wrestling and the ground and pound. Have you heard any rumblings about his debut?
He was actually slated to make people said he signed like a year ago with the UFC, but that didn't happen or something. He was then with ACA back then. I know, for example, that he can never fight at Olympic wrestling again because he has banned for life or something because of a doping violation. I don't know exactly, but that's why they have to work out the things with USADA, I think. But he would be a good addition to the UFC, man. He has some good wrestling, some good punches and all. So I'm looking forward to see him in the UFC, man. But I don't know, man, if he gets USADA approved.
Yeah, hard to say. I'm looking at ACA 93, and ACA gives the guys $10,000 bonus for stoppage.
Yeah.
Wow. Why is the UFC not doing this, man? It just doesn't make sense. Even a promotion in Russia can do this. I'm just going to go down. I missed some questions earlier. I just want to get to them. Where are they? Okay, here we go. From Marcus. Which betting underdog in a title fight at 251 is the best chance to win? Good question. Now, Marcus, you know that I don't like to get my picks until the fight happens. But, you got 3 fights, obviously. Aldo Yan, Holloway, Volkanovski, and Usman Burns. I have to think about these fights a lot more. These fights are going to be great. Kenshiro saying Burns. I think Burns has a chance for sure. I think Holloway's got a chance for sure. People, I think, are writing him off a little bit after the loss in the first fight. He did get out. I was at that fight, Marcel. It was the first time I was in Vegas. Great fight. Great card. Usman and Covington was a great fight too. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess Holloway maybe, but I got to think about these fights more. Any early thoughts on this card and these 3 title fights?
As much as I really like Piotr Jan, I think Aldo definitely has a chance to win that fight, man.
Yeah, I think they all 3 of them do, when you think about it, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to pick Yan. I mean, that's not I'm spoiling it, but I think Yan wins. But yeah, Aldo, so experienced, right? I thought he looked good against. I was again at that fight with Maurice. I thought he won that fight, so it was a close fight. Yeah. Kenshiro, how do you explain all the investment in cages being made on Fight Islands for the tough season? That's actually not a bad thing to think about. Maybe that's possible. I think they're going to do it though at Apex, right? Like it makes more sense to do it with the PI. So I think that's what they'll do it. But at some point they could do it in Abu Dhabi, right? They did it in other countries before. It's not like it's the first time. Right now though, with pandemic, you have to do it at Apex. Steven says my volume is low. I thought I could hear myself. Can you hear me, Marcel?
Perfect.
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe you're I don't know. I'm sorry, man, if that's the case, but I think Marcel hears me okay. Let's get to some other points I had here. And if anyone has any questions, throw them in there. I'm going to go for less than 10 minutes from Marcel. We'll get out of here. James starts his podcast too soon. I know people want to watch that as well. I had Shane Burgos ripping the rankings next. I talked a little bit about last week, and I know that you were pretty upset too. So Burgos, they said they were going to take him out of the rankings in this brief. Okay, so apparently the brief was sent by Kieran Jenis. Kieran's the guy at the Underground. So he's a guy who's been around forever. He's fought a few times too. I mean, he's been around forever. And I respect this guy, but I just feel like there's something really, really sketchy about UFC even having some sort of say in who should be ranked. It should 100% be the voters. The voters are a joke. The whole rankings are a joke. But I know they're upset about it too, man. So I want to get your thoughts on these rankings and the suggestion that Shane Burgos should have been dropped out.
Yeah, first I want to give a huge shout out to Eric Cowell for releasing that note, because otherwise nobody would have known. Doesn't make sense, man. I mean, you also have to see the quality of opponents people fought. Also, there was like listed on Burgos' side, like he only fought one ranked guy, and it was Calvin Kattar. And it's like Cap Swanson was ranked number 11, I think, when he fought him. So that's why he came in the rankings, right? I mean, it's weird because they said Bryce Mitchell has more, how do you say that? Has more the right to be ranked than Shane Burgos if he loses, because he recently beat Charles Rosa, and it's pretty much the same as Shane Burgos beating Cap Swanson. As like Shane Burgos actually finished Charles Rosa a few years ago via TKO in the third round. So it's kind of all weird. And also with Emmett, it was like he had a high, or what's that, a low high and a high low. Yeah. I mean,
they were going to drop. They told him to drop Emmett out if he lost, potentially drop him out. It's weird, man. I just don't think there should be any suggestions about who should be ranked. But again, these rankings are really bad. They've always been bad, And I know I was going on crazy kind of last week. I talked to Brian, I work with Brian at MMA Oddsbreaker. He's one of the rankers. I don't think he loved my comments, I'll be honest. And I'm his colleague. I said, Brian, that's just my honest opinion, dude. I'm not going to hold back. I just think there's too much room for error here. And not only that, but Marcel, for me, one thing I never did was push to be on the rankings panel, because I feel like you get too involved with the matchmaking and the guy's contract. So it's like something I don't want to be involved with. Like, Jeff Neal. If you're ranking guys right now, you have Jeff Neal or whatever at number 12, and I guess that's fair based on his wins. But because he's ranked there and because he's so good, all of us know he's not getting fights against anyone above him. So that's a perfect example. Jeff Neal knocked out Mike Perry that card I was at in December, 245. Mike Perry fought again just now. Jeff Neal is still waiting for a fight, and he took a second job back at the steakhouse he works at in Texas.
Yeah.
I saw that story, right, James, in the interview, man. I mean, geez, and I know he said, it's my choice. I'm trying to help the restaurant out. Come on. Imagine Tom Brady worked at a restaurant on the side or something. I'm not Tom Brady, but you know what I mean? Like a high-level athlete. There's something wrong with the sport, man. It's the best sport in the world, though. That's the crazy thing. The fights, these are the best fights, the best athletes, and yet they're not treated and paid the way they should be. Anyways, Curse Blaydes, I want to get to him quickly. Curse Blaydes, he's kind of explained why he thinks Dana White hates him, because he speaks out because of the style. He was saying, Curse Blaydes is such a great fighter. It's really sad how fans have turned on this guy because Dana White turned on him. So then all these idiot fans are turning against him, saying he's boring. He had one boring fight. All his other fights are good. Like the Junior Dos Santos fight, he stood up and traded with him. The Overeem fight took him down and smashed his face with elbows. So yeah, maybe the Wills fight wasn't the greatest, and this fight wasn't the best. I don't think it was that bad of a fight. I mean, dude, Marcel, he's like 285 pounds, cut down 265. And he went the full distance against a guy, Volkov, who's a very dangerous, long, awkward kind of guy. So this whole Curse Blaydes is boring and he shouldn't talk about his pay because he's boring. It's so stupid, man. What do you think?
Yeah, man. I mean, what do people expect him to do against Volkov? Come on, man. I mean, he even said it on Twitter what he was gonna do, and he still get shit for it. I mean, what was it the greatest fight? No. Was it a solid win for Blaydes? Yes. I mean, I pretty much expected that this was going to happen in that fight. So, his comments to Dana, man, I always tend to back the fighters even more when they comment about pay against Dana. So, I mean, if I see what he earned for that fight, wasn't that, I think it was 180. I think, I don't know, and Volkov was even under 100K what he get for that fight.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the other thing. Like the TV money, the UFC gets a lot of money. They don't distribute it like equally like the other sports.
Yeah.
I don't, can talk about fighter pay all day. If anyone has any last second questions, throw them in there. Me and Marcel answer them before we get out of here. I only want to go a few more minutes here, Marcel. I got enough of your time out of you today, so I appreciate it. But just looking ahead at some of these cards, I already kind of mentioned the Usman Burns card. The Cater Ige card, Figueiredo Benavides 2, Whitaker Till. Then you go to August, you have Home Aldana, Louis Olenek, Miocic, Cormier. What's a fight that you really or can't wait to watch this summer? What's like one or two fights that you are just so excited about?
Oh man, that's yeah.
Yeah, and think. Okay, how about this? Don't talk about the main events. How about some other fights in the cards that maybe we don't know about?
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to Nathaniel Wood against Umar Nurmagomedov.
Yeah.
I think that's a crazy fight. Maybe I shouldn't have done that fight, to be honest, man, because Nathaniel Wood just lost. If he loses again, he can be a big guy for the England fan base to get after. And if he loses again, that would be pretty sad, I think. And same for Umar Nurmagomedov, man. He's undefeated, very bright prospect from Dagestan. But that's a fun matchup, man. I mean, we're going to see that next month. So that's one of the matchups I'm really looking forward to. And another one, which is kind of a weird matchmaking to me, but Sergey Pavlovich against Cyril Gane on August 8th. I mean, those are two heavyweights, two promising heavyweights. Gane still undefeated. Pavlovich, that looked very good so far in the UFC. This apart from his loss to Overeem in his debut. So those are two fights I'm really looking forward to. And don't forget Manel Cap against Rogerio Bontorin. Cap, he's the rising champion. Now coming to the UFC, going down to flyweight, fighting Bontorin. So that's a really fun fight as well.
Yeah, there's some. I'm just looking at the undercards at Best Fight Odds right now. Oh my God, there's some good fights coming up. Again, we can talk about those main events. For me, the Prochaska Ozdemir fight, I think that's a great fight, and people know about that fight. How about this one, Elizu Zaleski dos Santos versus Muslim Salikov? That's just going to be very violent to watch. It's going to be fun to watch.
It's another of those welterweights, right? Just behind top 15.
100%. Same with this guy, Abdul Razak Alhassan against Munar Lazez. I don't know the other guy that well, but Abdul Razak Alhassan is a guy that people think could be a champ due to his knockout power. Any thoughts on that one?
100% the knockout finish in that fight, man. I mean, Munar Lazez, I think he's 8-1. His 8 wins all by knockout in the first or second round, and we know how Abdul Razak Hassan fights, so there's going to be a banger, man.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Just some other fights here. How about the return of Joe Duffy? He's fighting Joel Alvarez. That's an easy fight for him, I think. Joe Duffy's a guy that obviously has that win over Conor McGregor, so he'll always have that in his back pocket. Brett Charns against Montel Jackson. That's a fun fight, too. Good grappling match, should be. Both those guys are really good. How about this one? Armin Tersukian against Davey Ramos. That's a great fight, too, man. I mean, look at these fights. Like, Jesus. Man, there's some good fights. And, like, again, these are not the biggest names, but this is why they built Fight Island, so they have these international guys getting fights. Looking at the next card, Danny Roberts against Nick Dalby. That should be a fun fight, too. Really good one. Actually, Dalby is Dutch, or no,
Danish.
Danish. Okay. Any Dutch fighters coming up? They're fighting the UFC. I can't think of anyone right now.
No.
I guess the big guy, right? Obviously, I think Struve tired of maybe.
The thing was that actually there should have been an event in Amsterdam on July 19 or 18. Yeah. So there would have been Dutch guys on that one for sure, but nobody's booked yet. I think Overeem said he wants to come back in August or September, so maybe then. But Struve is not retired. He will have another fight. So
okay. Well,
yeah, I don't know.
Again, gets knocked out every fight. So Hopefully it doesn't happen again. I always wanted to see Marlos Kunin in the UFC too. I feel like kind of bad for her. She was kind of ahead of her time, and now she probably doesn't make it.
Do you know she does Bellator commentary for Spike TV over here in the Netherlands now?
Good for her. And obviously, Jermaine Durandamy, we didn't talk about her. Dana always saying how good she is. I mean, she's definitely good. So, but
the only that made sense right now was, I think, Juliana Pena against Durandamy. I think everybody else is booked, and that
not too many open slots in the division right now. Anyways, Chad, just these rest of these fights are going to be good. Geez, like you said, that Wood or Magdalena fight, and there's a bunch of other good ones. All right, I want to get out of here though because we did it for an hour, so I appreciate it. Oh, I got one. This is the last question I'm going to take, guys. Marcus, if you could book coaches in the next tough, who would bring good ratings? Who would you book and why? He likes Covington and Perry. I thought Covington and Woodley would have been pretty good. I know Woodley doesn't have the best personality, but I think Covington should probably do tough against someone. What do you think?
I agree, man. I wouldn't do Perry because I think you can bleep like the whole episode if you do Perry against Still, for example.
You could do Covington and Masvidal. That would be that'd be great. But I don't think Masvidal will do it.
No, I don't need to see that. Yeah.
More money. But
Covington against Woodley.
Yeah, you could do that too. So a lot of these guys, that whole division, again, they got to start getting these fights going because you need Edwards has got to fight for a belt soon, and you got guys like Wonder Boy behind too. So great division. All right, Marcel, I think that's going to be it for today. Really appreciate you coming on, man. A lot of fun talking the fights with you. So plug your stuff and tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me, Adam. I really appreciate it. You can follow my stuff on MMADNA.nl, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and my personal account, BigMarcel24 on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. Sorry.
Good stuff, man. You guys can find me on Twitter at MMAdammartin, and I'm available at MMAOddsbreaker.com, BJPen.com, MMAratings.net. Definitely check me out all those places, guys. Once again, Marcel, thanks for tuning in or joining me, and thanks for everyone for tuning in. I really appreciate it, guys. Thanks for all the questions. I'll see you guys probably, I think, Thursday this week. I'm going to do my second podcast. I think I'm going to go away Friday for somewhere. So I think I'll probably do it Thursday. So guys, have a great day. Take care of the rest of the week, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.